What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It's Daniel here from the GeekSpeakNation channel, and I'm here to bring you my review of Batman, the Killing Joke.
I've been thinking lately about you and me, about how this is going to end, about who will end up killing who. Perhaps you'll kill me, perhaps I'll kill you. Perhaps sooner, perhaps later. You know that, don't you? I need to know, for when that time comes, that I'd made a genuine attempt to talk things over, to try and avert the inevitable, just once. Listen to me. This is life and death, mine or yours. Our relationship, it's fatal, but I don't want your murder on my...
So, Batman the Killing Joke is an animated Warner Brothers feature, and this is possibly one of the most anticipated DC animated films I've ever seen. I mean, the hype going around this film was incredible, from the panel at Comic-Con and just how many people were there and how many people were excited. It's amazing how many people truly love this book. Now, Batman the Killing Joke is an adaptation of a book of the same name, written by the great Alan Moore, and with art by Brian Bollard. I think I'm saying that right. I hope I am. But either way, they did an amazing job with that book. And during the time in which it came out, which was during the 80s, it came out during this time of the revolution of comics and this gritty nature, bringing back comics to this darker core that really wasn't seen before. And Alan Moore was one of the writers that were really leading this crusade with his books like Watchmen, and then Frank Miller coming out with books like Batman, The Dark Knight Returns. So a lot of things are really happening, and this book is really seminal for Batman and for comic books itself, and for a whole bunch of fans in general of the medium and of comic books we have today. This book really means a lot. Now, to me personally, I enjoyed the book when I read it, but out of all the hype that was built up from it, I was like, oh, okay. It's a good story, but that's just because I've been living in the era of being inspired by so many books that have been inspired by Alan Moore's work on Batman the Killing Joke. You know, Scott Snyder's run of Batman, things like that, Grant Morrison's run. So I'm used to these darker tone comics and the video games that came from this very book and many others. So I didn't have that big of an attachment going in, but I had a lot of expectations that they would stick true and be faithful to the source material. And to a degree, they are. I think when you look at the art direction, it's spot on. And the work that Brian did is really brought to life in this book. They take that rough, hand-drawn kind of vibe and are able to captivatingly put it on this screen in a very well done way. I think when you look at DC's recent features like Justice League versus Teen Titans, or if you look at Batman versus Robin, you have these nice crisp animations that almost have a lot of Japanese influences, because when they do action sequences, it looks like they pass it off to another animation team, which is very common for a lot of productions. But I think that it really stuck true to the form that they had. And sometimes because of that, action suffered a little bit. It was very, not necessarily stiff, but it was very grounded and realistic and stuck to kind of cartoon violence most of the time when they came to hand-to-hand combat, just trying to get people down in 1 or 2 hits. But either way, it was actually very graphic, for which I was surprised for. And I think for a lot of people who were hoping the book would be, you know, faithful in the sense that, oh, we're going to get a book that's going to be gritty and dirty just like the book was. It is. It is violent. I think it is up there with Batman's, the Son of Batman animated movie, or just how violent it is. A lot of blood, and it's very graphic, disturbing as all, I don't know what, but they do not hold back from those terrible dark imagery that is in the original graphic novel. They go there. Don't worry. But the part that does get me is there's an extra prologue to the film. Bruce Timm, who was coming, I don't believe he was the director, but he had a heavy hand in making this film. And essentially what he wanted to do, along with Brian Azzarello, who helped write this prologue, was give more depth to the character of Batgirl and Barbara Gordon. They wanted to give her more stakes because of the events that happened to her. For those who haven't read it, I won't spoil it. But because of the events that happened to her in this book, they didn't just want her to seem like a plot device. They wanted her to have more meaning, and what happens to her in this feature to have a bigger impact. So they decided to add this prologue that's about 30 minutes of an hour. It's about half of the movie, really, about of an hour film. And so they used that time to set up this story that was not in the original comic book with this prologue with Batgirl. And I see what they were going for, but it didn't work. And it was really, really messy. A lot of their focus for this ended up being about Barbara Gordon and her relationship with Batman / Bruce Wayne and her admiration of him. But Bruce Timm, as we've seen, when he's not working with the writer Paul Dini, who worked on Batman, the animated series, Master of the Phantasm, all these amazing, wonderful things, when he is not working with Paul Dini directly, Bruce Timm likes to explore this sexualized relationship between Barbara Gordon and Batman. And no spoilers, but their relationship in this film really throws me off, and it really undermines the portion of the film where they're trying to adapt The Killing Joke. Because so much focus is put on Barbara Gordon and her sexuality, and Barbara Gordon's purpose, and how that affects Batman's duty, and how she wants to be independent and not thought of as a child, but yet her behavior is completely opposite of that. Her character is written off as very whiny and doesn't really know what she wants. And there are many great interpretations in the animated features by Bruce Timm and Paul Dini of Batgirl, but in this one, she wasn't that strong, formidable character that we love in the way that we loved her. Yes, she can hold her own in combat, and that was fun to watch, but as a character herself, it was very wishy-washy when it came to the writing and the plot that they had come up with, and the ridiculous name of the villain that they had come up with for this prologue was Paris, France. You heard me. Anyways, yeah, but because of the sexualization of their relationship between Batman and Batgirl, it really didn't work for me, and it really felt slow because they were slowly trying to unravel this mystery of what was going on that inevitably had nothing to do with The Killing Joke, and there was no tie-ins between the Killing Joke portion and this prologue portion. Neither the characters that were introduced nor the themes were really tied in, and essentially what they were trying to prevent was making Barbara Gordon seem like a plot device. But inherently, they made her more of a plot device because they built up all these things about her sexuality and her being and her purpose and how that hinges on what Batman has to say, even though it shouldn't at all because she's independent. But yet, they hinge all this on one person, and then when these events happen, it completely undermines whatever they were trying to set up previously. And it just did not work for me at all. And there's a scene, if you've seen the film or you've seen this version, you know what I'm talking about. But I just found the scene repulsive. I don't like this relationship, and I'm totally up for different interpretations of things. But between the age difference and how the relationship is just set up, it's just weird and uncomfortable to me and has no purpose in the film. So with all that, with Batgirl being forced into the film, and it feels forced, by the way, with all that being forced into the film, it really hurts it because the dialogue is so rich and enchanting when it comes to Alan Moore. His words, he is like the Shakespeare of comic books when it comes to his language and his dictation. But all of that is lost in the translation of this film because it feels so rushed. The Joker's dialogue in this book is some of the best dialogue in literature itself. His monologue about one bad day, his monologue about memories and madness being the emergency exit are amazing, and they are beautiful and astounding and heartbreaking yet terrifying because you think deep down maybe they might be true about humanity. But it's completely rushed and completely off kilter because so much time was spent developing Batgirl, and inevitably she's just thrown out of the plot halfway through the film. For reasons obvious once you watch the film or have seen the film. But nevertheless, it was just not okay. And I really wish they had more time to just let this sink in and let those thoughts linger and let these disturbing themes be explored. If anything, instead of expanding on Batgirl, I would have loved for them to expand on the mystery of Batman trying to find the Joker and what the Joker was doing and all these things, not necessarily just in the flashbacks, but also in him setting up all these things. Or maybe the mystery is just like, oh, how do you make all this come together? But I wanted more out of the Killing Joke portion of the film rather than the prologue. And that's just me personally, guys. Maybe some of you watching this, it doesn't bother you, you actually enjoyed it. But for me personally, it completely threw off this film. It threw off the focus of what the film was about. Because when they're actually in the adaptation part, I'm like, man, I'm getting chills down my spine. I'm like, they are actually doing this. This story is coming to life, but it feels so fast-paced, and you never get to truly sit there and enjoy being engrossed into the world of the Killing Joke. They handle certain moments well, very disturbing moments of the film very well and with great taste, all things considered. But and I think the ending was done very well, although a little awkward. But they do handle the ending very well, which is very controversial when it comes to the film. But nevertheless, guys, I really wanted more. I really wanted more. I think it's a fine film to just sit down and watch once. Don't let your kids see this if they are not really of age or ready enough, because this is dark, disturbing material, guys. And I enjoyed the adaptation part, but I really did not enjoy the Batgirl part. And it's a shame because Tara Strong did a great job, and so did the entire cast. Mark Hamill did an amazing job, as usual, as the Joker. I mean, shouldn't even be a question. So did Kevin Conroy, and this new guy they got to do Commissioner Gordon. But nevertheless, they really didn't get time to shine and really delve deep into the dark world. But it's worth watching at least once, but again, I'd rather just read the book. So with that, guys, I'm just going to go ahead and give Batman the Killing Joke a 7 out of 10. So, like I said, guys, there is a lot to enjoy in the adaptation part of it, but it's just hard to really get into it because it feels kind of rushed. And granted, the original story is, you can read it in like half an hour, but still, they could have took that time to expand upon the story, not in meaningless ways or subplots, but really delve into the, the plot lines and the dark themes that they had presented in the first place and just see where that could have led them. But overall, I just think it was mismanaged by Bruce Timm and Brian Azzarello for writing this prologue and trying to force something to fit that didn't have to be there in the first place. So guys, maybe you enjoyed this more than I did, maybe you didn't, but let me know in the comment sections down below what you thought of Batman the Killing Joke. And also while you're down there, guys, let me know either what is your favorite animated Batman feature or what is your favorite Batman graphic novel. When it comes to animated features, I would probably go Under the Red Hood, because I love Red Hood so much, and he's my favorite character next to Batman. And for graphic novels, I would go Batman Zero Year, the whole entire arc between Dark City, Secret City, and Zero Year itself. So those would be my picks. But guys, if you like my review, hit that like button down below. And if it's your first time here, don't forget to just subscribe, become a part of the Geek Nation. Because guys, we're on our way to 1,000 subscribers and we are almost there thanks to your support. It really means a lot to me. And also guys, if you love hearing me talk about nerdy stuff like you do right now, don't forget to check out the Weekly Geekly podcast, which is listed in the, the cards that I put in the beginning of this video. So check that out. It's pretty awesome. It's our best episode yet. Don't quote me, but you can, because I made the episode. But nevertheless, guys, thank you so much. I've been Daniel, and don't forget to get geeky.